Alright, we're going to use the log laws now to expand a condensed log. So law number 3 tells us that exponents, which there are a lot of, that 5 and that 3, each of these in fact has an exponent, can be moved to the front of the log statement and become multiplication. Because this 5 goes with everyone, I like to move the 5 to the front of the entire problem and use a big giant bracket for everything that's contained inside. Now, these two items are separated by multiplication here. When you go to pull them apart, we will pull them apart and separate them with two log statements, but with addition between them, because multiplication here gets pulled apart with addition. The numerator and the denominator, which is a fraction, will be pulled apart with subtraction. So, I'm going to have the top two items, the m and the n, in these locations, and the bottom, this n and this p, will be subtracted. I'll use parentheses to represent the n and the p once we get there, and then that will conclude my bracket. Back to this top. That 3 is the exponent of the m. We move it to the front of the log statement, so there'll be a 3 in front of the log pertaining to m. N, which has a cubed here and is square rooted, is the same thing as n to the 3 over 2 power. So it's the 3 over 2 that needs to be moved to the front of that log statement. So these two items, which are separated by multiplication, have the plus between them. Now we move to the denominator and our subtraction. This n, which has this radical symbol, has a 1 right here and a 4 here, so that's the same thing as n to the 1/4 power. So I'll put a 1/4 in front of the log bn statement. These two items are being multiplied together, the n and the p, so they get separated by plus. But these parentheses are needed because both end up being subtracted. So I use parentheses so I don't have to worry about it here. I use a plus here. This p, which has a cube and a 4th root, is like saying p to the 3/4 power. It's the 3/4 that I move to the front, and that is an example of the correct expansion. There are several options that I will allow you to have. You could have the 5 distributed, so multiply each of these coefficients here by 5. That's fine. Similarly, you don't need these parentheses here if you wish to have this be a minus and this be a minus distributed. That would also be okay. So this would be the correct expansion. And now we just use this quick numerical substitutions to find an answer to it. So we substitute log bm with a -7, the log bn with an 8, and all of these are arbitrary. They change from week to week. Log bn again is an 8, and log bp is the -4. So we have an answer here, looks like -40. So I would check that, but this is the most important thing here. Okay. So I'm going to throw up problem number 2. Hopefully you can read this okay. At this point you need to press pause if you need more time, work on the problem, and here's the solution. Hopefully you can see that all right. Press pause if you need more time. This number doesn't correspond with what we're doing. And let's look at the third problem for expanding logs. Press pause if you need more time. Hopefully you can read that. That is a cubed right there next to that p. That's p cubed. what you have to be careful of when you're doing these problems is that the radical symbol stops right there under the p, under the n, and the p is not underneath it. Here it stops after the cubed, and that n is not underneath it. It's important to remember. Here's the solution to number 3. And that says negative 120. And hopefully you got it.